How's everybody doing today?
How are you?
My name's Kyle Faubert,
Terry Woolsey.
and we are My Senses Consensus. Today we have a very special episode. We know a lot of people have been waiting for this. Episode 6, Healthcare Delivery. And we know there's been all kinds of comments about this, and most of them aren't great. So we thought, before we get into where the healthcare delivery is today, we thought, why don't we talk about where it used to be? And who better to tell us than somebody who remembers it being a little different. Now, Terry, you were telling me earlier about when you got hurt as a kid, right? Your parents would call the doctor on the phone, right? Dial them up, and they would come to your house and give you stitches right at your house. Now, if you could just tell us a little bit how that process went.
Yeah, and that there's a difference between what we're doing today and what happened then. I was just a kid. I didn't know how the system worked. I grew up. You got sick, you called the doctor, and you'd either go into his office and he would deal with it, or he'd come to your house and deal with it. So there were house calls, and so you paid the doctor directly. There was no universal health care, Whatever deal you made with the doctor, you made the deal with the doctor. And so that's totally different than today, where it's out of your hands. All you do is go and fill out a bunch of forms, sit in a waiting room for 16, 18, 24 hours before you see anybody, and then you're not even sure what you're going to get. So with the old system, you got what you got. Like, it was just there. It was always there. And so the doctor, he would come out, like you said, I'd get cut, and they'd phone him and say, yeah, I can be at your place at 2 o'clock, and come over and stitch me up, and that'd be the end of it. And he would say to my mother, he says, well, in 7 days, pull that out of there, cut them out, and just use whatever, just get some scissors and pull the stitches out, and you're good. And so that's the way it worked. So what's wrong with that?
Did they used to teach people in the schools? Because I remember, I don't know, it was last episode, we talked about people coming from overseas, and when they started their farms and stuff in a new country, they had to know how to take care of their kids and their animals and everything like that. So did they used to teach people this stuff in school a bit, or? A little bit more.
Like, I'm sure you still get that, but not the degree that we used to get it. But you could take woodworking and shop, right? And you could take mechanics and welding and nursing, and that was in healthcare, right? And home ec for the girls to learn how to take care of their house and do that kind of stuff. And all of that's still around, but it's not focused. Like, there is no requirement that you have to know how to change a flat tire or fix a car when it breaks down. There's no requirements for that whatsoever, but in Europe there was. At one point, you couldn't get a driver's license unless you could dismantle a whole car and put it back together.
Really?
Yeah. And so, I was in Europe and I saw that happen. So I'm thinking, it worked real good. We didn't have universal health care, but it worked. And if you got really sick, the doctor sent you to the hospital, right?
Which is where our problem is today.
Yeah. And now, if you have a snivel, where do you go?
People are going to the hospital with the sniffle.
Yeah,
instead of going to walk-in clinics or whatever.
Yeah, and they can't get in to see their doctor.
No, and
because if you need specialty care, because there's a lot of diseases or medical problems that we didn't have. Like, there was no ADHD when I was a kid. Autism was like 1 in a zillion. Peanut allergies, never heard of it. Those things didn't exist. So we know what the root problem is. The root problem is we don't manufacture and take care of our foods properly. We don't eat properly, and we don't know how to take care of ourselves. We really don't.
People stop trusting God, right?
Well, they stop trusting. They trust the system, and the system has let them down. So
but you should never put the system above God, and I feel that that's kind of what's happened, Like, just thinking of my child upbringing, I wasn't told about God. I was told about the government figures it all out. And I just feel like that could be where things started,
Well, that's the idea of faith, family, and
freedom.
right? Is that's the basis of going back to the basics. If we don't go back to the basics, we're
What is true freedom? Is it the choice of what we feed our families, what we put in our bodies, what we take out? Is that freedom?
There's a price to pay for freedom. If we just go back to the First World War and the Second World War, there was a price we had to pay for that freedom. The freedom to be able to believe what we want in our faith, okay? The freedom to do what we want with our lives, and there's a price. So freedom is not free. That's the first key thing. It's not free. And so if it's not free, what are you prepared to pay for that? And we're paying for it right now because we're losing our freedoms because somebody else is dictating to us what that freedom means. And there's no such thing as a free lunch.
No, we've lost control of everything. We've lost control of our healthcare system. We've lost control of our food system, our everything. So if we just lose control of everything, who do we blame but ourselves? We can't blame anyone. We got to blame ourselves.
That's right. So we have to take responsibility. And until that message gets loud and clear, and as you know, the difference between a recession and a depression, right? A recession when it happens to the other guy. When it happens to you, it's a depression.
Yeah, is it ever a depression?
Okay, so now many people are not at the point where they care about it. So it's not affecting them, but it's affecting the guy across the street. And they don't particularly care about that. So that comes back to faith again, where you should love your neighbor as yourself. And so when you love yourself too much and you don't love your neighbor at all, you're sinning. You actually broke a commandment. And so it comes back to the real basic, like you say. Faith is the very first thing that you have to work on.
And when did they stop doing the doctor to the house thing? 1969 or something?
Well, I don't even remember when healthcare came in, but I think it was in the 70s. I remember that when they first brought in healthcare, Alberta healthcare, I had to pay a premium. So as a single individual, my premium was, I believe, $32 a month as a single person. And as a family, my premium was like $132 or $100, I can't remember. And then somebody felt like some socialists felt like that it was more important that you shouldn't have to be accountable for anything when it came to your health care. It should be free. And so they figured out, well, we'll just raise the taxes on gasoline and pay for the health care. Well, that went to hell in a handbasket.
Yeah.
And where's it at? No, it's even worse. And until we fix that problem, get back to the basics, it's not going to be fixed. Is it going to affect people when we fix it? Absolutely will affect them. It'll absolutely affect them.
But how can it affect any worse now? I mean, people can't afford to shop at the grocery store. They can't afford to fill up their tank. I know people have canceled their summer vacations because they're like, how can I afford to go, right?
Yeah. Well, that's just one of the root problems. So every department you go into in the government is a problem. I don't care which one you go into.
Well, the fact that the government in Ottawa has a room that decides on how they can raise taxes every year without us going nuts, and the public doesn't know about that, but I know about it because I know someone who works in the department.
Right.
So this is crazy.
Yeah.
Their plan is to raise the taxes every year, and we have nothing to do. Like, Alberta has no choice. So,
well, the budget will balance itself.
yeah, if Alberta doesn't free itself, right, your kids have no choice. They'll never own a home. They'll never own a home.
So you're in bondage.
We're in bondage.
So what's going to happen? Let's take this and forecast it down the road for just a second. The trajectory that Alberta is on and the country is on, nobody can own a home, then how are they going to house them?
Well, they're going to put y'all in apartments that'll be 400 square feet with a webcam, and you're going to be living your life, getting to eat chemically processed food, and you're honestly just living until you get sick and die, and you have no purpose. And that's why Elon Musk actually told people I don't know, within the past decade, he said the future, the robots are taking over everything, and unless you have a talent, right, like you're a musician or a comedian or some type of an artist, you're not going to have a job because there's going to be nothing that the world needs you for. And
So, what's it look like in Europe and in the socialist countries? It looks like they're living in jail cells, in a cell block. Everybody's got an apartment building because they can't afford a house. They can't, and the government doesn't want them to have a house.
that's how it is in a lot of Europe, right?
Yeah, oh yeah, absolutely. So the majority of the people live in apartment buildings and they don't own their own properties. And that's
Where we're headed here.
we're going down that road, and if that's what you want for a society, that's where they're going to send you.
So your kids won't have backyards.
You're going to have nothing, and you'll be happy. And I think you'll have nothing, and you'll be really ticked off. Just ask the French Revolution how that worked, or the American Revolution. When they got too much taxation, too much dominance by the government. So we need to roll everything back to the basics. So I think we were talking about the healthcare delivery system.
Yes.
And we have to decentralize that system. We have to educate our people, starting from kindergarten all the way up through university. They have to be able to learn how to take care of their own health, learn how to treat themselves on the common ailments, and not have to be able to go to a doctor to do that. So the doctors will be isolated to what they were originally when I grew up.
So you're saying let's train people to be self-sufficient again?
Absolutely. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with taking care of yourself properly and knowing how to do it? Instead of they want to dumb you down.
They want to dumb you down. Keep your head out of the scriptures. Keep your head out of anything good.
That's right.
And just follow this. Watch the news.
So by the government controlling, just like they did in communism, they take away your faith. They take away your...
Did they ever take away our faith? Do you know, when I grew up in high school, right? No one said that they believed in God, because if you did, you get punched in the face. God wasn't cool back then.
Right.
But who instilled that?
Yeah.
That wasn't God.
No, that was the
government.
That's the other side of the coin.
Yeah.
Okay. So they take away your faith first, and that's what they're doing by doing that, and then they take away your family. And they divide you and your family. So you're all fighting over politics instead of fighting over freedom. And freedom, is it free?
No.
There's a price, isn't there? World War I, we fought for our freedom. We fought for our freedom. We didn't fight for Canada's freedom. We fought for my family's freedom to be able to take care of myself. And it wasn't free. Many of our relatives died in those wars to fight for our freedom. And now they're taking that away.
Yeah, they're taking away what we were promised to fight for.
That's
because it turns out that these, evil world leader witch doctor people, they have always wanted to keep the population small. Why do they want to keep it smaller? Because it's easier to control. So why is this agenda for 2030 happening, and why is it attacking our healthcare and our food supply, everything? It's because that's how they do it.
Yeah.
I mean, they're coming after. Most people will acknowledge that. Most people will acknowledge the 2030 agenda is real. Even if they don't want to believe that they're poisoning the food or the sky or the water, they will say, I do believe in that agenda, that they're trying to do that, right?
Yeah.
But if we look at the healthcare delivery, that's speeding up the process.
Yeah.
And
then they spin it, right? So they say, well, don't you believe that your relatives went and fought for Canada? No, they didn't fight for Canada. They would like you to believe you fought for the government. No, the government's supposed to be under the control of the people. We're not fighting for the government. We're fighting for control over the government. That's what we're fighting for. That's where you get your freedom.
Yeah.
And right now the government says, no, you have to listen to us. We have the plan. We're going to build this big data center up in Grand Prairie or whatever, and it's going to cost $20 billion.
do you know what that data center is for?
Yeah, I know. It's garbage. It's going to use more water than it should, and you take a look, the one in Utah, they're going to put them on rationing of water because it takes that much water to cool a stupid system.
And all it is it's going to monitor the people here.
Yeah.
And that data center is just going to keep tabs on them.
Yeah, and before that, it was the windmills.
Yeah, and those were giving cows cancer. I talked to lots of farmers around here. Their cows got cancer. People in their houses got sick. These windmills are no good either, according to the farmers. I mean, what do I know?
Well, what do you know? Anyway, what do we all know? What we know is they use these as distractions. That's what we know. They're distracting us from the real thing. We forgot what our freedom is all about. Our freedom is for us and our family. Government shouldn't have anything to do with that other than protecting that freedom as far as law and order goes.
But the governments have all signed weird
And we
deals.
should always be overseeing them not overseeing us.
100%.
They shouldn't be abusing us. And so I wrote a preamble to the new Constitution, which I want to do an episode on one day.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, maybe in the next episode when we talk about, how everything is corrupt and all this, maybe we should end with that.
Folks, the solution is get back to basics. Your freedom is your freedom. It's not the government's freedom. You're not fighting for the government's freedom. You're fighting for your freedom, okay, and your family's freedom, and for your ability to believe what you want, your faith. And as soon as you get rid of those and you replace it with the government's going to take care of me, we're going down that road. You're going to lose everything you got.
You can't rely on that, and I'll know because when my dad was dying of cancer, there was a guy who had a tumor that was 2 centimeters, and he had it for 5 years. So he kept going and getting checked every few months or whatever, and they say, no, it's not growing, sir. So the guy thought he was good. Well, after the vaccines or whatever, I mean, we didn't get into all the details, but the guy went back for his next checkup and the thing was over 5 centimeters. Well, in Canada, if your tumor's over 5 centimeters, they don't touch you anymore. So you get to keep it for life. That's what we're dealing with. So I want to trust the system as much as you all do, but when you have family actually affected, you're going to see that, things aren't right. I could tell you guys stories about my daughter when she went through non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. I can tell you stories about my dad. We're not going to get into all that today. We'll save that stuff. But I mean, I know the system's broken.
And we all know, like you go to a hockey game and it's a cancer sponsored thing, right? And everybody that has somebody that was affected by cancer, gets to wear a purple badge or whatever and hold a card up and say something nice about them.
Yeah.
Well, and was there any room in those hockey arenas? There are 20,000 people in there. Everybody knows somebody that's had cancer. Everybody knows that problem.
Well, my daughter actually got invited to one of those things.
What are we doing? What are we doing to fix it? We're saying the government's going to take care of it, and it's not.
No, those Hockey Fights Cancer has over $100 million in pretty much every city that partakes in it. And when the families are going through it, they don't give them help with food. They don't give them supplements for their kids. No vitamin C injections. No, we don't cover that, but we'll give you free massages. So these doctors are making the benefits. The families that are suffering with cancer aren't getting any support. The support is fake. It's a lie. And that's unfortunate. But again, it's because the system's broken. So if we can't fix the healthcare delivery, right, how are we going to fix these evil corporations that are pretending to help? Because they all pretend to help, and they help a little bit. But in Canada, right, you only have to help 5%. The rest of it can go to everybody else. And that's the problem with all these organizations, right?
So let's support independence. So you can have your faith, you can have your family, and you can have your freedom. And if you vote for independence, that's what you're going to get. And if you vote the other way, you're going to be in a cell block with the rest of them.
That's right.
That's what I got to say about it. And if you agree with us, subscribe, support.
And please share.
Yeah. And you can get a hold of us at
mycensusconsensus@gmail.com. Yep. And you guys can message us on any social media. We will always get back to you.
And if you don't support it, it means you're going to go there and you'll see what we're telling you will come to pass and is coming to pass. And inflation will eat you alive, and it is already eating you alive. And so it's not just...
I've seen people crying at the grocery store this week, you know, because they can't afford... How can you buy a steak, you know?
So get on the train so that we can get on the freedom train. That's what we need.
Let's end communism.
Yeah, let's end it.
Stay free, Alberta.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Still got battery?
Yeah. We did good.